Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of It's About Time. You know me, I'm Jared, and this is Drew, of course. Welcome to our special episode from the Water Club. We're actually at the immersion spa right now, about to get our massages, as you guys can kind of tell, in our bathrobes and everything else like that. So what are we going to be talking about today, Drew?
Pet peeves, Jared.
Pet peeves. Okay, all right. So before we get into that, of course, customary, what's on the wrist? Not much of a surprise. I'm wearing my Certina DS2 chronograph. Had it on for the last show. Had it on today as well.
For me, no big surprise either. Back to the Oris Jump Hour. Again, had it on the last show, because we did the last show yesterday, so no big jump here. We're still in Atlantic City. I'm still going to be wearing the same thing. Over to you.
All right, so let's lead it off with pet peeves. I'll start with one of mine. We'll just kind of like go back and forth a little bit. One of my biggest pet peeves when it comes to a lot of watches is having like short minute hands where the minute hands don't exactly line up to the second markers going around. And I'm like, is that kind of lining up with that, or it's not quite on it? I really don't know. That's one of my biggest pet peeves. All my watches, they line up with the minute hand lines up with the second markers around the dial. How about you?
I personally can't stand watches that are 3 ATM and less. If you're going to make a watch, at least I should be able to go in the shower. It's absolutely ridiculous that I would have a $5,000 watch and I can't even bring it in the shower. What is the point of that? I don't get it. Never did. Never will. They do make, I know there's Breguets and all these other type of luxury watches that are $40,000 and you can't even take them in the shower.
Yeah, I mean, they're really meant to be like really exclusive high-end dress pieces catering to like a certain crowd and things like that. And I think a lot of people really don't wear those.
I understand if it's a diamond bezel because you can't waterproof diamond bezels, but what the hell is the point when you're paying all that money and any type of water will affect its performance, or it'll affect the inside, and then you have to go get it repaired. So I can't stand anything that is 3 ATM and less. That is one of my pet peeves. And I do have a couple watches that are 3 ATM, and that's the one thing I do not like about them. So I try to avoid anything that is 3 ATM and less.
Okay. The other thing for me, okay, I am personally not a fan. I'm going to kind of piggyback off my first point. The other one for me has to be where you set a watch, and this happens on like literally every watch just about that I've ever had. I don't know if it's because of how they're manufactured or just how the movement is. I'm not sure what it is, maybe how the hands line up. Most of the times on most watches, it's so difficult to get the hands to line up exactly at like certain particular like the second markers around the rim, like around the dial. Like sometimes they go, like a little bit before or a little after. Sometimes they don't exactly line up. Like you really have to sit there. I'm just a stickler with making sure everything's clean, lines up. Most watches don't do that, and it's just kind of annoying. But it's just what it is.
Another pet peeve I have happens to be when you're setting the watch. And if you're trying to time the watch and you set the watch and the minute marker moves slightly forward when you're setting the watch. Jared knows what I'm talking about. It really throws it right off because
it's not like a lock cramp, like
right. So
like
when the second marker gets to the 12, then the minute marker is not exactly on the 1 because when you try to set it, it automatically moves forward. So I can't stand watches that do that. That just shows they didn't take the extra time and detail to get that part of the feature right on the watch.
Okay, interesting. The next one for me has to be a prime example. I'm not knocking them because they're a great company, but H. Moser and C. Just an example, by the way. I'm not saying anything bad about the company, just an example. But watches like that literally don't have a second hand, don't have second, the second indicator, the minute indicators are on the dial. Like nothing on the dial. No date. It's just a plain face.
You can't stand a lot of it.
How much money are you gonna spend just for something like that? I mean, it's not gonna gain in value or anything else like that. I know some of their watches are like $1 million plus. No, thank you. Don't like that stuff. I need a little bit of substance. Can put at least your brand on the face or something, like, etched into the dial or something.
Yeah, no branding does piss me off too, because how the hell am I supposed to know what the hell I'm buying or tell somebody what the hell it is if there's no branding?
I don't even know time. I mean, 10:05, 10:35. There's nothing to the watch. It's boring.
Another thing I don't like, as we've seen in previous episodes, is leather straps.
I was gonna say, I know you don't like that.
You knew I would get to that. Can't go in the water with them. Can't go underwater with them. Can't sweat with them. Can't really do anything without them getting stinky, smelly, and gross, and you have to keep replacing them. So that's just an easy way for the watch industry to make money. Not off me. Not happening.
Interesting. Okay, now I'm trying to think if I have like any other big major pet peeves. See, I
do.
I personally don't mind the leather strap. To be honest with you, it's okay. Actually, I will give you another pet peeve of mine. And I'm going to have to knock Rado a little bit for this. A lot of ceramic bands. You can't size them yourself. You have to take them to a watchmaker. And, like we talked about in previous episodes, if you really mess something like that up with the Rado and it's ceramic, you're going to have to get a whole new band, or so you're going to have to repay all the money for it if you chip it or something like that. Like bands like ceramic, as durable as they are, impossible to resize, number one. Very difficult. You can't do it on your own. And obviously, Drew and I like to resize our own bands. We have our own kits to do that. Then also, that is going to chip right off if you hit it wrong. Not a fan.
Another problem I have, if you're going to buy a watch, please make sure it has sapphire crystal. I can't stand watches that have plastic crystals. They scratch all over the place. Yeah, you can get the scratches out, but they keep scratching. And then you have to keep getting it replaced. And you keep scratching again. For the love of God, just buy a sapphire crystal. If it cracks, well then you're totally screwed. You have to buy a new one anyway. But at least they're much more durable and they're much more waterproof than plastic crystals.
Okay, I'm going to add another one to this actually. Zenith. Don't know what you're doing, don't know how you're doing it, just read recently, don't get it kind of thing. A 1/1000th of a second chronograph, or even like 1/10,000th of a second chronograph, and literally the power reserve on it is like 5 minutes. What the hell do you need that for?
I never quite understood that either.
I'm like, what? It just popped in my head literally. I just thought about it and I'm like, makes no sense. Okay, if people are buying that, not a problem, but whatever.
And finally, if you're going to buy a watch, especially if you're a guy, please don't buy watches that are pink, purple, yellow, green, or any other ridiculous color that you can't even resell. I mean, I can't stand these tie-dye watches and all these weird different designs that people come out with that make you...
Wait, can you think of a brand off the top of your head? I'm going to put you on the spot.
Can I think of a... Yeah, Swatch does this all the time, okay? You can go in the mall and it's like you're looking at a ridiculous rainbow effect of bad colors. And it's just like, I don't mind eating it when it's sherbet, but outside of that, it doesn't belong on your list.
Okay, now, I'm just trying to think. I actually was like just thinking about one more. I feel like I just lost it. Oh, yes. Okay. Size of watches.
Oh.
Okay? I'm going to just say this.
Jesus.
To me, I'm going to say this. At a minimum for a guy, I don't care if it's a dress piece, if it's a luxury, whatever it is. I'm going to say minimum. This is absolute minimum. 32 to 35 millimeter at a maybe kind of like 32, that's extreme borderline. 35, okay. I'll give it to you. A lot of Rolexes, the 35, 36 sometimes, vintage especially. If you're going to go below 35 for a guy, I mean, come on, that's like, you must have really small wrists. I'm not knocking you if you wear that.
Or Invicta, please. I
Too
can't
big.
stand 60 and 70 millimeter watches. They're bigger than your wrist. They're bigger than some people's you know what. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. So please, don't go there. Outside of...
If you can't lift up your wrist with the watch on it, it probably is not going to work
anywhere
for you.
between 38 and 45, we would say is optimal range in terms of size.
45 sometimes even a little bit too big, maybe like 43, 44.
I understand if the guy
yeah,
has
45
watches, it
would
could
do.
be bigger. But, you know,
Yeah.
outside of that, please, no 60 or 70 millimeters. There's no resale value. And please, only giants and ogres can wear them. So just let that size go. Stop making them. It's totally worthless.
Absolutely. Anyways, we hope you guys enjoyed our Pet Peeves episode special from
massage.
Immersion Spa at the Water Club in Atlantic City. Next episode, we're not 100% sure. When we do it, you guys will find out. But please, don't forget to like, to subscribe, to email, to comment, do everything. We look forward to hearing from you guys. We love all the questions you're sending in right now. And that's about it. Anything else to add? Are you having fun down here in Atlantic City?
I am indeed, and we will see you next episode of It's About Time. And where the hell is my mouse?
See you guys later.